In order to drag you toward the present at the speed of text, let me offer up some of you, those of you who are familiar with my work, and really who isn't, may have heard this before. If that is the case, I apologize, but I'll try to make it fast. I moved to Los Angeles with $500 in my pocket and a meeting with a producer who said he loved my first screenplay. So on the appointed night, at the appointed time, I went to the Paramount lot, and I went to his office, where he again told me that he loved my work, but that he could not put down money on the script until I did some rewrites on the third act. So I took some of my $500 and I bought a portable typewriter, and I went and stayed on a friend's couch, and during the day I did the rewrite, and on the appointed day, at the appointed time, I showed up on the Paramount lot just in time to find a custodial worker scraping the producer's name off the office door with a razor blade. And my triumphant arrival in the City of Angels was not exactly what I had thought it was going to be, but I was young and I was energetic and I could talk, and I had been a regular at the Improv in New York since the time I was 17, so everything was going to be fine. I went to the Improv on Melrose. And I said, "Hi, I'm a regular at the Improv in New York." And they said, "We don't care. The owner's wife got that one in the divorce." Wow. But I was young and I was energetic and I could talk, and I convinced them that they should give me a showcase. And on a Tuesday night, I came into the club. At the appointed time, I went up to the MC and I said, "After this guy is off, I'm going up. Expectations are very important. I want you to tell them that you're very excited to have me here, that I'm a special guest, that I've been in New York, where I was working in the film and television industry." This was all true. I had been a production assistant on Crocodile Dundee and the Cagney and Lacey New York shoot. I said, "Tell them you're very excited to have me here." And he said, "I know how to do my job, go wait in the back." And I stood in the back of the room as he went on stage, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Hollywood Improv is very proud to present a special guest." And there was a murmur in the room because this was the mid-'80s. Ronald Reagan was president, though he did not know it at the time. This was the time during which people came to the Improv specifically to see very special guests that we were excited to have. And he said, "He's been in New York, he's just come back from shooting a major motion picture release." And I said, "Not exactly what I was asked for, but I asked for the right thing. I have plausible deniability." He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Improv welcome." I shifted my weight forward onto the balls of my feet to move toward the stage, as he said, "for Robin Williams." And Robin Williams blasted past me, and he took the stage, and he joked and sweated, and he was hilarious for 45 minutes. And then he said, "Thank you very much, good night," and he came off stage. People signaled their waiters for their checks, and they began to hand in credit cards as the MC went back up on stage and said, "All right, this next guy is from New York. Dylan, why don't you come up and show us what you got?" And I took the stage to a walking ovation, ladies and gentlemen. I told wry political jokes to a group of people that was no longer an audience. They were now just a group bottlenecking at Negress. And my stunning showcase at the Hollywood Improv was not exactly what I thought it was going to be, but I was young and I was energetic and I could talk. So I went up the street to the Comedy Store, where I got a job answering the phones that paid not enough to rent an apartment. And I answered the phones during the day, and at night I stole stage time at the end of the show if there was any audience left in the room at all. And then I would sleep on the roof of the club in a space that I found out one rainy night was designed to channel water away from an entrance. So I found old newspapers, and I dammed up a little dry space for myself, and from then on, if it looked like rain, I hid out in the club till all the doors were locked, and then I slept on a booth upstairs in the belly room, the small development room for newbies, because I had so thoroughly internalized the psychotic status system of this club that even as a vagabond, I didn't feel I was ready for the main room. And one night, I stole stage time at the end of a show. And afterwards, a woman came up to me and told me that she thought I was very funny. And she invited me to her home in the Hollywood Hills, where I had sex with her and her boyfriend, because they gave me a lot of cocaine and hinted at a guest house I might be able to stay in. And that night, as I walked the long, winding, dark road back down to the club, I was incredibly happy, partly because they'd given me a lot of cocaine, and mostly because she had said that I was funny. And it didn't occur to me until many years later that I had been homeless and a prostitute But that night, as I went to sleep in my little tar paper rain gutter depression, it did occur to me that adulthood was not going exactly the way I had thought it was going to be. But I was young and I was energetic, and over time I got more work on the road. I began to open for people and then to feature for people, and all over the country I took the stage in double-breasted false bravado, and I prayed that the audience would not see through my wardrobe and my wit to realize that I was a fake and a fraud, that I was a freak and a phony. And I was not George Carlin, and I was not Bill Hicks, and I was not Lenny Bruce, and my firm commitment to the truth was not exactly what I had thought it was going to be. And after the shows, I would work the crowds, or I would go to the local bars to try to find women who might indulge my dark fetishes and personal perversities, and failing to find them, I would weep alone in stoned hotel rooms, and I was not James Bond, and I was not Hawkeye Pierce, and my psychosexual persona was not exactly what I had thought it was going to be. And then, one night, I went into a coffee house and I met this woman. She was managing the coffee house, and I flirted with her, and it worked. And I hung out late into the night, and she kept refilling my cup, and we talked, and we laughed, and finally I asked her out on a date, and she said yes. And that night, as I drove back to my little studio apartment, I realized that I could imagine spending a lifetime with this woman. But I knew that eventually she would find out who I was, and that I had this past, and that I was a freak and a fraud and a fake and a phony, and she would walk away or keep it a secret, and there would be a dark cloud of deception hanging over the relationship. And that night, as I went to sleep on my sweat-soaked futon on the floor, I made a decision. And when I went on our first date, I showed up dragging a duffel bag full of coke whore shame and pushing my self-loathing in front of me like a shopping cart full of obsolete rain-soaked newspapers. And in between the appetizer and the main course, I unloaded all my baggage on the table. And this woman is amazing. Well, this woman whose only flaw is that she turns the map to face the same direction that we're traveling. Reached across the table and scratched the side of my head like I was a big sheepdog and said, "You're just a little freak, aren't you?" And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the first 17 years of marriage have not been exactly what I thought they were going to be. They've been much better. Thank you. I thank you for that, but I'm running short on time, so I don't have time to waste on laughter and applause.